Hello, and thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of JustBU podcast. I am your host, Gina Jones, and here you have the right to be you. I have another special guest in the building with me today. I'm going to let her introduce herself, but I just want to let y'all know we are talking about holistic living today. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hello, my name is Kitty Cullen. I met her about, about a week ago in unusual circumstances. I've been a nurse for 31 years as of about a week ago, and my new degree is in functional nutrition. So over the years, I've done a lot of critical care medicine, which is my passion, trauma and critical care medicine. So in the ICU, ER, and Life Flight. But over the years, I've seen that we have it really down in this society about acute care medicine, like traumas and strokes and heart attacks. But we're kind of dropping the ball on chronic illnesses, and people are living longer with chronic illnesses, but they're not feeling better and they're suffering uselessly. They really don't need to suffer as much as they are. Unfortunately, where medical model is in this society right now, it's kind of changed, and doctors are paid by patient instead of just getting a yearly salary. So they're paid to see a patient every 15 minutes. So when you come into the doctor's office with a complaint, you have about 15 minutes to get out what you need and what you need to tell them. And then usually their answer to your symptom is another prescription or pharmaceuticals. But the problem is right now, since COVID and everything has changed, usually your next appointment will not be for another 3 months. So it's really hard to get in contact with your physician. And if that medicine's not working or you're still having symptoms, they end up in the emergency room. So we call them frequent flyers. They keep coming back with the same complaints and they're not getting any answers. So this is kind of where functional nutrition comes in. I decided to get this degree so I could help people in another avenue. So functional nutrition kind of backs things up. We look for root causes of your symptoms. When did they start? Why did they start? What was going on in your life? And we kind of take into account like your epigenetics. It's called like everything that's involved in your body matters. So stress, mood, poop, traumas, toxicities that you're exposed to, vitamin deficiencies, hormonal imbalances, huge digestive issues is a huge part of it, and everything interacts and everything's connected. So trying to find out where it's coming from, and then getting to the root causes of them and treating the symptoms from there. So I have a couple of quotes here. One is an interesting quote from Dr. Wall, and she actually was diagnosed with MS years ago, to the point where she was bedridden, and she got herself out of bed finally and walking and then she developed the Wall's protocol for MS, and it was all related to digestive health and nutrition. And this is what she wrote. She said, at the most basic level, scientists are discovering that nearly all of chronic diseases that cause so much suffering all share mitochondrial dysfunction, excessive inflammation, high cortisol levels, and other markers of broken biochemistry. So in a very real sense, we all have the same disease. So I thought that was like super interesting, because it all starts with inflammation. So stress causes inflammation, inflammation causes disease.
Yeah, I've heard that many a times. But before we get further into that, let's rewind a little bit. I want to talk about your life flight. That part of your career. Let's start there, because we're going to get into how you got to where you are and how you're starting your own business. Tell us a little bit more about that part of your career where you were in the helicopters and, flying these sick people back and forth to the hospital. Tell us about that. That's interesting.
Yeah, so I actually flew as an observer in nursing school, so it was a gradual thing. I always knew that I wanted to do it.
Okay.
So I always knew that it was going to be critical care medicine, and I was really, really interested and fascinated by it. So I waited. I knew it was inherently dangerous. I waited till my son graduated from high school, and then I took a life flight position. A very, very rewarding. A lot of the positions people don't understand in nursing aren't rewarding. But you don't do it for the grace. You don't do it for the people thanking you. You do it because you have a passion for helping people and the medicine. But nurses get yelled at by the lab, the doctors, the patients, the family members. Sometimes that's all you do. Your entire shift, people are yelling at you because they don't get your meds in time. You're not being discharged. What's going on? It's not helping. But Lifelight, and it was a different switch for me. Not only was you're kind of acting as an acute care provider or following your guidelines. I mean, there's no doctor with you. You fly doctor, paramedic, but everybody's happy to see you. You run to the hospital, pick them up. Oh God, thank God, Lifelight's here. The family's happy to see you. The patient's happy to see you. You know what I mean? Because you're getting them where they need to go. So it was like extremely rewarding. And sometimes, you encounter people on the worst day of their life and make a difference and deliver them to the OR or to that trauma center. And that was really rewarding for me.
Good. How long did you do that?
14 years.
14 years. Now, were you in nursing prior to that, you said? Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah. How long were you doing nursing prior to that? And what type of nurse were you?
16 years, and it was all ICU and ER.
ICU and ER. Okay. So, what got you out of Lifelight?
I wanted to do this business. I finally finished this degree. I started my business in November.
This past November?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And then I stopped Lifelight in December. And then I took a local contract and then have been working my business on the side on the days I'm not working there.
Good for you. So now that you are diving into your own business and becoming a full-time entrepreneur, what do you plan to do with this? Like, tell us more about your business itself.
Oh, my all-time vision that I have, my big-time vision is to have be part of a wellness center.
Okay.
That had a lot of other disciplines there that are all related to the mind, body, and spirit. Okay. Some of the holistic things that are obviously aren't covered by insurance, like massage, which is super important. Yoga and meditation and incorporating the mind into it, acupuncture, things like that, having other disciplines along with the functional nutrition, and IV therapy is going a long way too. People receiving different types of IVs to boost their immune system and their fatigue. And like things like that. That's kind of like what my vision is, having other entrepreneurs in one place.
Right. So you touched on this a little bit when you were speaking about how doctors come in and they diagnose you, and it's usually for 15 minutes and then they're writing another prescription. You being a nurse for 31 years, is it? Mm-hmm. How important do you think it is that this information is being put out there to people? Because me personally, I'm very intrigued with everything you're talking about, the mind, body, and spirit, how they all intertwine, how they work, how they're connected. And I feel like a lot of times doctors are just writing prescriptions and it's not helping people, it's hurting people. They're basically just putting a Band-Aid on the problem for them to come back. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So how important do you think this is that people get this information and start or begin to put it into perspective in their own lives, like eating healthier, taking herbs instead of prescription pharma medicines? You know what I mean? How important do you think that is?
I think it's really important. I think people sometimes don't realize their options, especially we're coming into the age of the baby boomers, coming into the older age, right? Mm-hmm. So they've grown up with traditional conventional medicine, which is what we practice in the United States, versus allopathic or holistic, which other countries practice first and traditional second.
Yeah.
So they might not be aware of it. They don't know where to go. They don't know where to look for. But, here's an example. So here's an example of a very bad drug, and it's called a PPI, which is a proton pump inhibitor. And people take it for GERD, for reflux, right? So what it does, it actually blocks your stomach acid. Your stomach from producing acid, because they're thinking the acid is backing up in your esophagus. But when studies have come out now over the years, they're realizing people it's not that they have high stomach acid, they actually have low stomach acid. So low stomach acid prevents that sphincter from closing, and then it washes up in the thing in your esophagus. So the PPI is already blocking somebody that has low stomach acid, and your acid is needed to digest your food and start the first process of digestion and absorbing of your nutrients and your vitamins. So these people are becoming very vitamin deficient, especially vitamin B12. So it's just an opposite, and those drugs weren't supposed to be made for people to be on longer than 3 months. People are on them years. I have a client that's been on it 10 years.
Wow. What does that do to someone, like to their body, suppressing the acid like that?
Well, they have digestive issues. They have long-term digestive issues, and then when they try to come off of it because they have been dependent on it so much, it causes them problems. So you have to almost do a wean, and to get them off of that medication, so your stomach starts producing acid again.
Yeah. And so that's where you come into play, and you pretty much give them an assessment of what it is that they need and prescribe
You try to figure out what's going on with them. There's a whole like list of questions, and there's a whole system that's put in place from my degree of how you ask people questions, and the questionnaires will take them probably. You did them,
I
2
did.
to 3 hours to
did.
fill out. It's no joke. We dig really deep, and I just let people know. I make suggestions on what I see. I am not practicing as a clinician or as a license. I do not prescribe medications. I make suggestions to people of what I see is going on, what is happening, and then it's up to them, to their discretion, of whether or not to take this vitamin or whatever. I also got a therapeutic supplementation certificate, so it taught you about different natural herbs to use in place of some conventional medicine when the conventional medicine is giving them tons of side effects.
Yeah. I've been more into the herbs too. I read an article not too long ago where they said the FDA was trying to pretty much put it into place where they're making it more difficult for people to have access to natural herbs, which I think is ridiculous.
Well, they're trying to regulate them because as of right now, they don't make money off of them.
Yeah. Well,
They don't make money off of the natural herbs. They make money from the big pharma.
Exactly.
So now they're trying to regulate some of these more common herbs, so that'll be harder to get, or maybe you need, maybe a physician to write a prescription for them.
which I think is crazy because it's natural herbs.
Yeah.
Like, why do I have to have a doctor write me a prescription for natural herbs? That's a whole nother topic, but I just think that's crazy. But I think I did take your assessment, and it took me about 2 hours to get through all the questions. It was very detailed. I'm excited about my journey in this process, like how me cutting back on certain things that's causing the issues that I was having. I'm excited to see how it turns out for me. But when you get with your clients and y'all go over your assessment, how important is it, do you think, for your clients to really make a lifestyle change and say, hey, I'm going to follow her instructions, I'm going to do this, like, tell me more about what you suggest to your clients, excuse me, and how important it is to really go in and take your advice on whatever it is that you tell them to do.
The interesting thing is I'm not a salesperson. People either want to change their health or they don't. If they're coming to us and they're like only, shall I say, half-ass interested, they are not going to succeed.
Yeah.
Because it's a lifestyle change. It's not a diet. People are like, it's called functional nutrition. It's nutrition. It's a diet. It's not a diet. It doesn't have anything to do with diet. It has to do with eliminating trigger foods and stress inflammatory foods. But and just making better food choices. But it's also a conscious decision of helping you with other areas of your life, meaning how you manage stress. Because under high stress, you release cortisol. Cortisol is a sugar. Cortisol keeps you wired. Cortisol prevents you from sleeping well. All kinds of things. It shuts off your thyroid gland, so then you become fatigued. So all kinds of things. They're all kind of related. So it's a matter of trying to make baby steps every day. And if people want a quick fix, I'm not I'm not your gal.
Yeah.
You didn't get sick overnight. I can't cure you overnight. I cannot help you overnight. We're just going to have to take baby steps together. And that's why the monthly follow-ups are so important. Because, you know, they're like, oh, I'm better with this, but this one's not better. What do you think? Or this happened to me or whatever. So not everybody tolerates every, you know, medication. That's why, like the blood pressure meds, there are literally over 100 different blood pressure medications out there because not every blood pressure med works for every person. So you have to, it's tailored to meet you. It's not cookie cuttered. Everybody's is different that I put together. So
Good. And I asked that question because I know that the mind is connected with the body. You know, the mental, how you think from what you eat. You know what I mean? It changes a whole lot of that. Tell me more about how they're all connected from what you eat, which causes you to think certain ways, which causes your body to react certain ways. Tell me how they're all connected and
so
how important it is.
So it's called the mind gut axis. And actually the gut now they're calling it the second brain. So it's super, super interesting because there is an axis and one's triggered off the other. It's just a cycle. So they're saying that people have poor digestive health. They are really greater than 30% chance of having depression, anxiety, something happening with the mind. And if you have the depression, anxiety, then it settles in your gut and you have digestive issues. So it kind of goes both ways. And how it works as far as your mood is 95% of serotonin, which is your feel-good hormone, is produced in your gut.
Wow.
So if your gut's off, there's no wonder that people are depressed. If your gut's off, you don't feel good.
Yeah.
You know, if there's something happening.
Yeah. So I have thyroid issues. We spoke about that. I have thyroid issues, and I know I've been getting a lot better because, you know, my blood work is coming back a lot better than it was when I first was diagnosed with hyperthyroidism. So, but I noticed something was off with me. I couldn't really put my finger on it. I'm just like, something is wrong. I don't know what it is. I feel crazy every day. I was just like, I just wanted to scream. And it really took for me to sit down and do my own research to discover that my thyroid hormone gland regulates most of the hormones in my body, which if my thyroid is off, I'm going to feel like a crazy person. You know what I mean? In addition to just having a child at the time, you know, I felt like I was going through a lot of postpartum.
A lot of their hormones.
Yeah, like my hormones were so bad. It was all related though. It was affecting my skin. It was affecting my mood. It was affecting the way I sleep. And then on top of that, imagine eating shitty foods. You know what I mean? Like it was all connected. So
Right.
I decided that I was, excuse me, I was going to cut dairy from my diet, do a lot of things that I felt like after researching, I did some extensive research on the hormones in the thyroid gland and you know, what the thyroid gland affects in a person. So I decided I was going to cut dairy and do a lot of those things. And I can honestly say that I feel like it's helping me. I'm not 100% there yet, obviously, because I was having gut issues, but I feel like overall, all of that is connected. You really got to take it serious when you decide that you want to make a lifestyle change when it pertains to eating right. You know what I mean? Not smoking, you know, that's another big one. That affects you. Even though it makes you feel good in the moment or helps you calm down in the moment, I think overall it affects your anxiety more than it does when you're not high. You know what I mean? So it's a lot of things that I feel like are all connected. But tell us more about how a person could come and like what the process would be with them signing up with you. Like how is that process? They come, they do their assessment. What's next?
So they call me on the phone. Usually we do a free consultation.
Okay.
You know, that's anywhere, depending on how chatty they are, from like 15 to 30 minutes. And I can tell right then if they're ready. Do you know what I mean?
Okay.
Because if they're not really ready, I mean, they say certain things. Well, I already do that, or I do that sometimes, or, don't you ask me to give up, my dairy because I'm not going to do it. They'll say things when that's part of the overall plan or whatever. You have to be willing I put people like on a 90-day detox, and it's just detoxing from inflammatory foods, trying to get the inflammation down in your body and trying to clean it up and see how you feel. So there are non-negotiables.
Okay.
And I'll just tell you, you said one of them, dairy is extremely inflammatory and it's hard for the bowels to digest. The other one is sugar. Sorry, guys. It's sugar. Sugar is the devil.
Got to give up the sugar.
And that's one of the most inflammatory foods that we eat.
Okay.
I was really, before I started this, I was really, really addicted to sugar. And, it took me about a month to stop craving it. But once I did, I was over and I was done with it. And it's tough, guys. It really is, because sugar hits the same receptor site in the brain as opiates, like as morphine. So that's why it's so addicting. And that's why when people go into rehab and they're rehabbing off of drugs, you just see that they gain weight, and people are like, oh, they gain weight because they're, you know what I mean, they're eating more or whatever. No, they're eating sugar because they're still trying to get that high from at that same receptor site, and sugar makes them feel good.
Okay.
So
that's
it's kind
why.
of the same.
Okay.
Yeah, it's kind of the same thing. So anyway, so they come to me, and then the consultation, and then we set up an assessment. So after I send them an email, which has 7 attachments on it, and like you said, it takes several hours to go over the questions. They send it back to me, I review it, and I come up with tons more questions to ask them when I review it. And then we sit down and we have a 1.5 to 2 hour assessment of more questions face to face and figure out what's going on in there. So after that's done, I go home, I pull out all my books, my research articles, or whatever, according to what we found, and I put a special protocol together just for them. And that includes some vitamins and some supplementations that might help whatever symptom or whatever they're having. And that email is usually anywhere from 4 to 7 pages. And they're in charge. The good thing is this is very client driven. You're in charge of what you want to do. You're like, I like 1, 2, and 3 on your list, but I'm not ready to do 4. Well, that's fine. You're in charge of your body. You're in charge of what you want. You know what's going on. And this makes you an active participant in your care and your vision and where you're going in your lifestyle change, which makes you more successful.
Yeah.
You know, I'm giving you the tools. I'm giving you the support. I'm your biggest cheerleader. I'm giving you knowledge about what's happening in your body and why, right? Because if people understand why, they're like, well, why didn't nobody ever tell me that before? Well, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, So that helps people be, knowledge is power.
Yeah.
For
sure.
And then they get that, and then they do whatever they're going to do for the month, and we have a follow-up in a month.
Oh, good.
See how their progress is going.
Good. So do you think, what do you think is the number one food besides sugar that's really hurting people the most? Like most of your clients, I'm sure they all come with different issues. But being in nursing, and what's the number one food that's really hurting people the most?
Well, it's not a food. It's a category of food, and it's gluten.
Gluten, okay.
Yeah, and people were just like, oh, you know what, I can eat gluten or whatever. I don't have celiac disease. Well, there's gluten celiac disease, and there are people that have effects of gluten that's not celiac. It's gluten non-celiac. Do you know there are very few things that cross the blood-brain barrier? That's why it's really hard to treat brain cancer, because even some of the chemos and stuff won't nothing. It's very protective. Lots of drugs won't pass the blood-brain barrier. You know one thing that does?
What?
Gluten.
Wow.
And it causes brain fog. It causes all kinds of things, memory lapses, decrease in focus and concentration. So some of the things people eat in a high gluten diet, it may be affecting like how you live your daily life and how you think and how you perform.
Yeah, and that goes back to it all being connected. So what are some foods that are high in gluten?
Gosh, there are a lot of things.
Because because I try to get gluten free when I go to the
You know,
the
good
grocery
thing-
store.
Right, there is a gluten-free aisle, right?
Yeah, I try to get gluten free items from the grocery store, depending on what it is that I'm cooking. But
Like you can get like pastas and breads and different things. You can even get cookies, but remember cookies have sugar in it. That's the devil.
yeah. She said it's the devil. No sugar. Sugar is that one
And
that's gonna be hard for me
I
to
had
get away
cookies
from.
last week because I do fall off the bandwagon because I'm human. I had Girl Scout cookies. It is Girl Scout cookie season.
It is. I just bought me some too. Look, I'm so bad. I sat at work and I ate a whole row
Did
of
you eat a
them.
row? It's
Oh,
so easy to eat
it's
a row.
it's addictive.
It
I
really
sat there
is.
at my desk and when I looked at my bag, I had 3 left. And I was so mad at myself because I got up and went to the gym that day.
Yeah.
And so I'm sitting there and I was like, "Are you serious? I ate a whole row of Girl Scout cookies at work." I told the guy who bought them, I said, "Don't ask me to buy any more Girl Scout cookies." But yeah, so I mean, gluten. So we got to stay away from gluten. What are some other practices, some general practices that you could give for people to try to, at least wean themselves off and try to live a healthier lifestyle?
And people are just like, whatever, well, let's just go with alcohol or whatever. It's never caused me any problems in that past. But do you really know what's going on in there? It's very, very, very hard on the liver. That's why alcoholics always end up in liver failure, right? And your liver is my new favorite organ after, we always talk about the heart and the lungs, the heart and the lungs. How many functions do you think the liver has?
Off the top of my head, I knew it was a little over 20, maybe. I don't know.
500.
What?
There's
500 functions from the liver?
Nothing that is done in the body that the liver does not know about, down to the cellular level. It does so many things, regulating hormones, cholesterol. Everybody knows it's a detoxifying thing, right? Because all the blood filters through there. It helps with bile, it helps in digestion, like I said, hormonal regulation. So that's why when people go into liver failure, why they're so sick, it helps in clotting of your blood. It stores blood clotting factors. It helps, like I said, aiding in digestion and controlling things that are released for your digestive things, because it produces the bile. It's stored in the gallbladder, and then the gallbladder releases it. So if you have liver disease, you could have a problem with your bile, which would lead to problems with your digestion. So it's amazing. So,
but I'm sorry to cut you off. Is liver disease irreversible or no?
Well, interesting thing is, a lot of people donate, right, their liver. They can donate part of their liver.
Yeah.
So you can have part of your liver, taken out or whatever, and the rest of it remain healthy, and you can do okay. People can do okay. But, it just has to determine whether or not, how far advanced is it in through the whole liver. But you can reverse some of the stages of it once you try to get clean and, like be healthier and not trying to support your liver so it doesn't have to work so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can keep going. I cut you off. I'm sorry.
No, that's
I
okay.
wanted to know about the liver disease. I actually have a relative who's suffering from liver disease, and well, I don't think it's necessarily that one thing. He has a bunch of other stuff going on too, but I was kind of concerned because I didn't think you could recover from liver disease. I thought like once your liver is gone.
Well, it depends. There are stages, right? There are stages of each disease. There are stages of kidney failure. There are stages of liver failure. You know what I mean? And there are stages of cancer, 1, 2, 3, 4. You know what I mean? They're graded, so it depends on where you're at, and what the causes are. But, it's interesting. Like I said, the human body is interesting. It just gives and gives and gives. You abuse it and abuse it, and it just compensates and compensates and compensates till it doesn't, right? And here's a perfect example. That's why hypertension is called the silent killer, because a lot of people might not have any symptoms and their blood pressure sky high. They just don't go to the doctors, and the next thing they know, they go and get some blood work done, and you're in kidney failure. Well, how can I be in kidney failure? It's because you have high blood pressure. Well, I didn't know I had high blood pressure. But the kidneys are amazing. They can be 2/3 not functioning before you start to show one sign. So only 1/3 left. And so, I mean, like the body tries to tell you, and all these little signs that you feel, and we just kind of talk away in our mind, oh, whatever, I'm just not feeling good today, or whatever, I'm getting older, or whatever, it was something I ate, or whatever. We always do these whatevers, and the body's trying to give you clues, and you're not listening to them. It's like trying to give you clues that you're not feeling better. And, the doctors do this when you go into the office too. Gosh, I'm just really tired. Well, you are getting older. Maybe you need to slow down a
They
little
do.
bit.
They
Right?
do.
Maybe you need to decrease your stress a little bit.
Yeah.
Instead of, I mean,
Which are legit
yeah.
responses, you know what I mean?
Right,
Especially
right,
when
right.
you have a lot going on.
Like,
But
I don't have a problem with, like, it at all. And then people may think that I do with my statements here. I don't have a problem with conventional medicine. And I definitely work in conjunction with their physicians on their issues. And I never tell them to discontinue something without their physicians, approval.
well, I do. I'm the complete opposite. I do.
It's up to them. It's up to, like I said,
Yeah.
it's up to you. If you
Yeah.
have something you want to do, then that's up to you and your choice.
Yeah, conventional medicine. I just feel like, I'm playing devil's advocate here when I say this, but I know that they do help people feel better, but they never fix the issue, and that's the problem that doesn't sit right with me, because it's like you're not giving me something to help me. You're giving me something to help me feel better. You know what I mean? I don't want to just feel better. I want to be healthy.
Right.
And
like
so,
you said, it's just like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet hole.
Yes.
The Band-Aid's eventually going to come off, and then there's going to be a hot mess, right?
Yes.
That when the problem keeps getting bigger.
yes. So I'm excited to start my journey with you.
Excited to help you.
Yes, I am. So let me just give my quick little story. I went into the emergency room because I was having some issues, and the doctor told me that it was just gas. Oh, go and get some Miralax. Go and get this. Go and get that. And I'm just like, okay, but it's deeper than that. Like, I literally wanted the doctor to put me on the bed, run some tests, look at my stomach, make sure nothing's going. And I still want to go back to have them do that, because I didn't feel satisfied when I left until I spoke with you. So it was like, okay, the doctor said I was good, but I just don't feel like that's what it is.
You're listening to yourself. You know there's something off.
Something's off. Now, I did see all the gas when they did the ultrasound, because they did do an ultrasound on my lower, pelvic area to make sure everything was good. And by the grace of God, everything was good. But I did see a lot of the gas. But my issue is, what's causing the gas? Get to the root of the problem. And like you said, they only have 15 minutes to come in there and tell you something and get you up out of there. I want to get to the root of the problem. What's causing the gas? What habits do I need to change? Because again, when they say, oh, you're just getting older, that's a true statement. When you get older, your body does things differently than it did when you were 20 and 21. So the older I'm getting, I have kids now. My body has changed a lot. So I want to know, what am I doing that's causing the gas? What am I doing that's prolonging this process too? Because it's been going on for a while.
All right, so let's talk about it. Let's bring up the big subject. Everybody does it. It's called poop.
Yes.
So constipation is a big thing, right? So people think several things. They think just if they have a bowel movement every day, they can't be constipated. But that's not true. There are times when you don't completely evacuate. So you don't completely evacuate a little bit each day, it can build up, right?
Okay.
And the other thing is the big thing is, if you're not evacuating, what actually is stool? Stool is a byproduct of cellular metabolism. It's waste. It's something your body's got everything out of the food that it needs.
Yeah.
And that's something it doesn't need. It's all toxic. It doesn't need it. It's pushing it out of your body, right? Yeah. So when it stays in there, and it stays in there longer than it should, it starts to break down inside your gut. And what happens when it breaks down inside your gut? It produces gas. It produces gas and toxins. They get absorbed back into the bloodstream. The bloodstream senses it as foreign. It causes inflammation. Your bloodstream, initiates an inflammatory response, and then you don't feel good. Right? So it's interesting. So it's just, when people say, "Oh, it's normal for me not to have a bowel movement for 3 days."
Yeah, that's not normal.
No, it's not good. It's not
Yeah.
good for your system. Things should be moving through in a normal way, like a normal pattern, right? It just should be constantly moving through. And there are lots of things that can cause it. We won't go into detail about all the things, but there's different types of loops in your colon, and they all do different things, And your
Yeah.
stomach does something, your duodenum, your jejunum, you know what I mean? All areas, and it could be a problem anywhere along the line
Okay.
that's causing the problem. One thing is called transit time, right? Transit time is how fast something moves through your gut.
Right.
If you eat a meal and an hour later you have diarrhea, your transit time's way too fast, right?
Okay.
If it takes you 3 days to have a bowel movement, it's too slow.
So what's the normal time a person should have or expect their body to pass through the toxins and have a bowel movement after they eat? Like what's a normal time?
That's different for different
people.
And
Okay.
it depends on what you've ingested too. Like certain things take longer to digest, like meat.
Okay.
They say it can take up to 3 days to digest a meat meal.
But you still shouldn't have you still should not have a bowel movement in 3 days just
Right.
because your body's digesting meat. You still should be able
Right.
to pass a bowel movement for other toxins
Right,
or other
right.
food that your body have digested, right?
Right.
Is that because it's how many stages of digestion is it? Tell us that. Like how many different stages? Because you go through the small intestines, then the large intestines, and then your
Yeah, there's there's different divisions of your large intestines.
okay,
You know what I
yeah.
mean?
Tell me
There's
that.
Your duodenum, your jejunum, there's your, I don't know, your transverse colon, your ascending colon, your rectum, your sigmoid colon. There's all kinds of areas in it or whatever. But there are different phases. They do different things. Like
Okay.
They do excretion, secretion, assimilation, absorption. They're all doing different things. I don't have them all memorized.
That's
but-
okay.
but-
Yeah, yeah. But I know it's
So-
different stages where
Right.
your body's it's breaking down the food. Another part of your gut might
It's
be
absorbing.
absorbing the nutrients and that sort of thing. Yeah,
So each of them has a role.
yeah. Okay, okay, yeah. So I think moving forward, I'm ready to get on this bandwagon and get my health under control.
I have some wonderful statistics to say here that'll kind of blow
Yeah,
people
tell me
away here
more.
that I
Tell me
wrote
more.
down. Okay, number one, 70 million people suffer from digestive disease of some sort. That's a lot.
That's a lot.
Doctors and drug companies make money treating symptoms rather than solving the problem.
Well, we know that,
know
like
that.
we know that they're making money off and that's my problem with conventional medicine. I just know that you're not really here to help me. You know what I mean? I won't say that they're bad people. Don't get me wrong. They're not bad people, but I just know that they're not really they don't have my best interest.
It's the problem with, I don't think it's inherently the doctors themselves. It's a problem with how they're trained. And
Med
that's
school.
how conventional,
Yeah.
that's how they're trained and they're practicing how they were trained, right?
So let me ask you this: there is no, and even in nursing school, there is no course on holistic medicine in nursing school.
Nope. And guess how many hours of nutrition doctors learn in nursing school or in medical school?
Medical school. How many?
2 hours.
That's it.
Yeah, so they're not trained in nutrition, right? They're trained to, treat acute illness, right? That's what they're trying to do and prescribe medication.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah.
I feel like honestly it's unethical. Like you really should know more about the foods that we are eating. Because America, there's a lot of foods in America that we eat that in other countries they don't eat. So they're here to treat the acute problem, but they're not being educated on the foods that are causing these issues. You know what I mean?
right.
So it's
It started back in the 70s. One thing that started, do you remember the pyramid? Do you remember
Yes,
the food
the
pyramid?
food pyramid, yes.
So that really started the whole process when it was actually very, very false. And so it was taking fat totally out of your diet, right? you need fat. They're called essential fatty acids, right? Your brain is 70% fat. So we replace these fats, what they thought were making people fat, with trans fat. And our body doesn't break down trans fat, and it's very bad for us. So that kind of started the thing, and started the things with box foods and processed foods and all the additives in foods to increase shelf life that are making people sick.
Okay.
Yeah, they're not eating fresh foods no more. It's everything's a convenient. Then the microwave came out.
Yeah, that made it even
Right?
worse. So
Yeah.
quick fix.
Quick fix,
Everything's,
right?
quick and fast. So that made it even worse. I was going to ask you about something you had just mentioned. It was the pyramid. It has something to do with the pyramid. I'll come back to that, just, so we can go ahead. But
Okay, so here's a few more lovely stats. The World Health Organization ranks chronic inflammation diseases as the greatest threat to human health. And there are over 100 diagnosed autoimmune diseases now.
yeah,
Isn't
I
that
can
crazy?
see that. I can see that.
Over 125 million Americans have at least one form of inflammation in their body. All autoimmune diseases are an immunity issue, not a glandular one. So people are like, I have diabetes, I have a pancreas issue. No, you had an immunity issue. First, your immune system failed, and then it attacked your pancreas. So people don't know either. 70% of your immune system's in your gut. Right? Again, so if your gut's not healthy, you get sick a lot, right?
So let me touch a topic that might be a little sensitive to people, but it is what it is. My community, I'm Black. From what I understood, we are not supposed to eat dairy, period. Like, dairy is not good for anybody.
Right, right.
But I heard, like, it's worse for us because we're just not supposed to. We're not built to eat that. And so when I see these pyramids and they're like, oh, dairy, 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 make sure you drink your milk and do this and do that. And I grew up drinking cow's milk.
Yeah.
But now I know how bad it is for us. I feel like, why did they force that on us like they did? You know what I mean? A whole pyramid with a dairy section of how much dairy you need to have in your diet. You know what I mean?
Well, also, sometimes, some of the studies back then didn't know. Like, they didn't know what we know now. And a perfect example would be when COVID came out.
Yeah.
We didn't know. And they're just like, well, 2 weeks later, you said this, now you're saying this. Well, we know a little bit more information than we did 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it kept building on each other. So, part of it is, what I mean, they had the information that they had at the time, you know what I mean? And that was the research that they had and what they thought was correct, right? Even in medicine has changed so much in the 30 years that I've practiced. Like, a lot of the stuff we did in the ICU, we don't even do any of those things anymore because they realized that might not be the best for the patient, just some of the things that we did as managing sick patients. We've done evidence-based practice, and we've proved that, this is better and this is a better way of doing things. Even advanced cardiac life support has changed. They re-up those. They change those every 2 years when they start to do studies of people that arrest and what happened with them and which ones survived. And, so it's just a matter of research.
Yeah. And being a nurse for over 30 years, I'm sure you see patients coming in younger and younger now with these chronic illnesses.
Obesity is a thing.
Is it?
It really is. I actually, my Life Light, I did most of it out west, and a lot of it was servicing the reservations and the native reservations. And, they're really inherently, sick populations, right? And obesity is one of them in a lot of their cultures, right? And all the disease processes that go with that, just, being overweight, the diabetes and the high blood pressure and then the cardiovascular disease. And so, and people are just like, it is easier not to pay attention. It's easier not to, want to, plan your meals and not eat that cookie and not, you know what I mean? But you have to look at it, how do I want to be when I'm 80?
Yeah.
what do I want to be? Do I want to be able to walk? Do I want to, am I going to have a stroke? Am I going to, you have to take those steps now for longevity and health.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, how long do you want to live? What is your quality of life that you want? You know, and take the steps now to have a vision of how you want to be and how healthy you want to be.
Absolutely. So, what does the diet look like for Miss Kitty when you wake up in the morning?
Oh, I always start my day off good.
Okay. It's the end of the day that gets you, huh?
And then it may be a crapshoot after that.
Right, right.
I have a protein shake. I have a green shake. I have a green shake that I drink. And
Okay.
then I put peanut butter fit powder in it, and a little bit extra protein, and I put some collagen in it, and I put some berries of some sort.
Okay, so that's your breakfast.
That's fine, and maybe I might have some fruit on the side, or some kind of fruit.
So you and I spoke about the time length of your eating. It shouldn't, start at 8 a.m. and end at 12 o'clock midnight. How long throughout a day should a person? I don't know what you call it, but like how long should a person, from the time they start eating in the morning till when they go to bed, how long should a person have with
And everybody has
eating
different
meals?
opinions on this, especially people who are in the fitness industry that want to eat every 2 hours or whatever. But the most stressful thing we do to ourselves on a daily basis is digestion.
Yes.
Digestion is very, takes a lot of cellular energy, obviously, and all the different stages of, like we talked about, a digestion. There's something in your stomach, something in your small intestine, and all those are requiring energy in your liver and all those organs that I said to work together to get that done. So your body, just like your brain, why do we sleep? We sleep to rest and recover, right?
Okay.
To give our time to, rest and recover and rejuvenate. Well, your gut needs that too. Your gut needs a time to just be processing what's already in there and getting time to rest and recover. So there's tons of studies now about the benefits of intermittent fasting. And people are like, oh, I ain't doing that. I can't fast or whatever. But the big thing is if you look at it, 8 hours of your day, like it is sleeping, probably. Most people on the average sleep for 8 hours, right? And maybe another 2 hours running around. So if you're talking about a 14-hour fast, there's 10 of it right there. You're driving to work, you drive home, and 8 hours of sleeping. So it's only other 4 hours that you got to juggle in your mind, which isn't really that hard. A lot of times if we're busy in our lives and with our kids, it's not that hard. So let's say you eat breakfast at, 9 in the morning, like you should be done, try to be done by 5, so you give your time to, your gut time to rest or whatever. And then, you should never eat within like a 2-hour window of going to bed, 2 or 3 hour window, because it's harder to digest when you're laying down than when you're sitting up.
That's
right?
my problem.
Yeah.
Girl, I'll eat. And then I'll try to give myself 30 minutes, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. Because most times I'm cooking, like I'll cook and I'll nibble while I'm cooking, and then I'll feed my kids, and I'm like, oh, I'm not hungry, I'm not going to eat. And then I'll sit around and do something, and then I'm like, oh, I'm hungry. And then I'll chow down on a little plate, and then I'll give myself 30 minutes, and then I'll go to bed on a full stomach. And I know it's not good. I know it's not. That's the habit I need to break too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just eat when your kids eat.
Yep. Force myself to eat.
Yeah,
Seriously.
You'll get used to it. It takes 2 weeks to make a habit.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
So you drink your smoothies in the mornings. Do you usually eat something light for lunch? Like,
I've always only been occasionally I'll eat 3 meals, but I'm kind of a 2 meal.
That's me.
Kind of gal.
Yeah.
So I'm like people. I'm like the kind of late lunch, early dinner kind of gal, like the 2 or 3 in the afternoon. So, like if we're going out, like if my friends going out to lunch or whatever, like we might go at 3 o'clock, and I feel like I'm the old lady club, those ones that come to early dinner when I'm really actually eating a late lunch.
Right, yeah, that's it. But that's me. Like, I'll eat late lunch at work. Everybody will go to work they'll start eating at like 11 or 12. And I'm like, oh, it's 2 o'clock. Let me go and grab something to eat. You know what I mean? So, and even with dinner, I'm full at 5, 6 o'clock when I get off and I got to go home and cook dinner. I'm still full. So that's really why I eat late sometimes, or I just won't eat at all. I'll just go to bed like I'm still full from my lunch. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
yeah. So, any other good quotes for us?
Um, nope, I said them all.
Well, tell the viewers how they can get in contact with you if they want to utilize your services and decide they want to live a healthy lifestyle, change the way that they eat, get off
Yeah.
those meds.
I am on Facebook, but most people like it. I have a website, so that's probably the easiest way to call me directly.
Okay.
So my website is myfunctionalhealing.com.
Myfunctionalhealing.com, all one. Okay.
Yep, all one word. And then I can be reached at 330-635-9899.
9899.
Yep.
Okay. Yes.
And then I can tell you the benefits that you will get if you call me.
Yes, let them know what they get when they call you.
Okay, I can help you think about your health from a different perspective. I can help you better understand digestive health in relationship to disease. I'll help you get answers and help manage your symptoms. I'll help you fill in and understand knowledge gaps about your condition or disease. I can help you take ownership of your life, your lifestyle, your habits to ensure good health. I can be your medical personal health coach and support you on your journey. So just remember, food is medicine, lifestyle is medicine, mindset is medicine. Treat your body like a temple and you will be rewarded tenfold and give you a long, healthy life with many rewards. Remember, everything is connected and everything matters.
Everything is connected and everything does matter. I am a living witness to that.
Yep,
That's
yep.
a true statement. I wish I knew a lot of the things that I know now. I probably would have tried to force my mom to stop eating because my mother is from Alabama and they eat full blown, you know,
Lard.
yeah, no, seriously, the chitlins. My mother don't eat that stuff no more because she has diabetes now. But like she would eat this food, and I would be like, I know it's not good. And I started off cooking the same way when I first became an adult, and then as I got older and I started seeing like what it was doing to people, and just my body naturally just started like rejecting certain meats, certain foods. Like I'm to the point now where it's like chicken. Like I love chicken. I've always loved fried chicken. Oh my god, I love fried chicken. I still do, but the wing sizes are too big for me now. I'm like, this is not normal chicken. So it just turns me off sometimes. I have to get my chickens, the small normal wings. And sometimes I don't even have a taste for it. So my body is naturally winging itself off of some of these meats.
Well, you have to realize, like you said, you wish you had known this to tell your mom.
Yeah.
People are either ready or they aren't. It's like quitting smoking. My parents smoked, and they knew they should quit smoking or whatever. No matter how many times us kids told them or whatever, if they're not ready, they're not. They have to. People have to be ready for this too.
Yes.
It's not like you can force somebody into it or they're not going to succeed. They have to understand the benefits. They have to be sick and tired of where they're at, sick and tired of feeling sick and tired, and not getting any answers or or whatever, because it'll take some time to change your mindset, but you'll eventually get better, and you'll eventually be thinking every time you put something in your mouth or whatever. Like I had a piece of cake last week from somebody. I bought her in a cake for her birthday, and I knew I shouldn't have it because I know I don't feel good after it. And you brought it. Aren't you going to have a piece of cake? It's my birthday. You brought it for me.
The temptation
So
kicked in.
so I had a piece of cake, and it was absolutely amazing. And my stomach hurt for literally 2 days.
Wow.
So I mean, you have to think about what you're putting in. Think, is this really going to be worth it? Because I know I'm going to be miserable in about an hour.
Yeah.
And that kind of mindset, that's going to stop you from maybe making some poor choices.
Yep. Got to make better choices. That's the important part. So, I don't know. We'll see where it goes. I'm excited to see where my journey ends up.
Me too. Excited to help you.
I need to get rid of all of the stuff I have going on with my gut. Like I don't want it to start causing other disease, which is why I'm so adamant about, changing my diet, my health, all of that. Well, this was good. This was really, really
Good.
good.
Thank
Thank
you for
you.
having.
Thank you for coming.
You're
I
welcome.
appreciate
You're
it.
welcome.
Thank you guys for tuning in to another
Call me.
episode. Yes, make sure you give her a call.
330-635-9899.
9899. I just did my assessment with her and it was intense. She did ask questions. She's gonna get all up in your business. But you gotta find out what the root of the problem is. So I appreciated that. But thank you guys for tuning in to another episode of JustBU podcast. Catch us on another episode next week. And we are out.